lama ramo jan dagi jibla dama dagi jibla daang go omji jaje da tanda namdo sheya ga thamda wadi chanjuk sem samgo ja thablam ni dashi nyamji sora dashi nyamji sarang jinji mewa shenje ga zimba sta ngado digi ngado digi samba jiwu samba bhaadhawu midan chambu yongya tsangma shen la samshi chiya shenje ga zimba shen ga sanga mangbo tamba yina midi samba lhewa yore samba jiwu yore 다 디그 로조디 나도 단다 삼발하고 용고요 말에 밀라 튀는 상상을 하고 용고요 말에 그도 정말 랑진지기 용고요 봐 세상 드린다 저 랑진지기 전에 계시기 요인다 아 드린의 성에 아니 배랑진지기 용으로당 이 신진진디 네 신병이 삼바도 야처로 스탄도 지기 삼배 네 군노야고 제쇼스라
So, first we're going to set our motivation. So what we're looking at today is developing this attitude of bodhicitta, right? This pure heart or this, this kind of attitude. So we're doing this looking at the method of exchanging self for others. So when we talk about exchanging self for others, we're talking about exchanging the attitude of self-cherishing for the attitude of cherishing others. So we want to be thinking about others, develop the mind that thinks about others, that cherishes others. Right now we have like a varied attitude to others. Sometimes we think they're good or bad and depending on certain situations. However, this is, this biased kind of way of looking at things is due to this mind of self-cherishing. So what we need to do is reduce this attitude of self-cherishing and develop this attitude of cherishing others. So in order to you should be thinking that today. This should be a motivation that you're going to reduce the self-cherishing attitude and develop the attitude cherishing others.
다들 담자신 다 드리네세 강에 아니 가르쳐 보이는 게 네 된대게 삼바디 가지고 있는데 담자치기 신병이 삼바 삼바 시진지기 로디 이마 드리네세 야게 당 란진지 노르당 다 드리네 시진지 캘렌 담자로 지도리나 야고 요레스라.
So now what you want to do is you want to make a commitment. a commitment to develop this mind of benefiting others. So whatever circumstances occur, that you constantly strive to develop this mind. So feel that from today onwards, you're really going to develop this pure attitude.
다 가와 공만 이제 신변의 삼바 상부지 드리네. 내 삼바지 수술이야. 수술은 가와 공죠.
So now you should rejoice and really develop this attitude, feeling very positive and joyful that you've developed this attitude, right? This positive motivation, and feel joyful in that.
다 믹스에 드린 남자 제로 무슨 아니 삼바 상무시야 탑남다 이네 나저도 뭐 샤제는 그거네 유버지 유버 마냥 봐요 유버 마냥 봐 유버지 근데 레지 다시 냠지 로그 냠네 찬주스는 동야 탑남 딘데지 드린 나라 메제디나 딘데지 암조 님기 총화데 유버 상무이 전도나야 그래요
근데 말람be
아 유버 안 unbroken image.
Okay. So now you should feel very fortunate, especially fortunate that you are listening to this unbroken lineage coming down from Lama Tsongkhapa on this technique of exchanging self for others. So how to develop this practice, how to develop oneself, how to practice these steps for exchanging self for others. So this, feel very fortunate you have this unbroken special lineage.
다 데리스 가서 그래. 나자도 뭐 샤줘도 아니 추디 이제 태바 춘비 추비는 지난 계속 시기가 가능한 거로 라니지고게 데루상도 많이 봐 아니 심지 탐제기 탄다 상도다야 기다 남냠님 좀 받으라 태바 춘비 추 시기로 와죠 데 받으라 간상서 그래 미들라 디자인이 치고 그래 공부두고스네 로도때 또 공부두고기 단 로도 마오기 면내체들라 윤재명아 윤체로 기준 로차요 그게 주심제 다음 넘버스도 로도 쳐 로도 야쳐 삼바 야쳐 닝도 쳐 미 코바 쳐 삼바 도마인게 어디게 이네 냠내체들라다 다시 냠제기로 스타디 공부노보기 공부다 지로도 쳐지 냠내체가 좀 받으니 그래서
So the Buddha's teachings, within the scope of the Buddha's teachings, we have the Mahayana teachings. And with this, the focus is not on simply your own benefit, benefiting merely yourself, but rather benefit to all sentient beings. So within the scope, then we have with those aspiring to this, then we have two types of people. the less able, you could say, the less powerful, the less able. For them, it's advised that they practice the 7-point mind training for developing bodhicitta. However, those who are more able, like a slightly more powerful mind, for them it's advised to do this practice of exchanging self for others. So these are the advice given to two types of aspiring Mahayana practitioners.
Mm.
Oh, okay, I've heard it referred to that, but okay. All right, that's fine. 7-point cause and effect. Gudreda, yeah, literally translated as 7-point cause and effect.
I don't know English, I already said. If like that, you can make clear.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's good. 나는 이래다. 다디 유거라고 제가 다자 좀 마셔게 들어오게 송 아니 디네 마마마 주니 다 제세 친구 쉬어라. 주주나라. 제가 쉬어 당어서 단행 로망고 주주나 주주시에다. 다지란 사업도 때 사고 말하는 민거도 나다. 다시 냠제 건설이 준주기 레벨 하고 돼 3댕기 레벨도 나나다. 제가 쉬어지다. 준주 이제 제가 그 타고 쉬어셔라. 디나라 개보여마 지다다 내가 정말 요르들 개보여마 수군이들 요마 준중나라 개보 쉬어지요 나라 이런 다시 냠제 걸라 냠네 뿌타고 쉬어지 이러고도 나 지다디 먼저 레 당볼라데 디 마디고 요마 람링 디 틱디 마디고 요마 네 나테 마 탭로기나 준중나 로기나 준중나라 때 개보여레서 그데 네 제제다 표현을 주바데 다르네 단단하고 뭐 길루문저이나 이게 주바데 단다 대대요 제로 뭐지 주바데 딱딱 단다 야오르 뭐지 사고 대대 야오르 뭐지 숭주 망보 낭타로 제가 용셰 용치 명아사에서 낭타 제가 늘 참마다 팀의 망고 휴사 당한데 숭주 람림 팀마가ထုတ်된 휴사 당한데 나 유베티 탑대요. 당한도가 지금 또 유베티 한도가 탑대. 그래서 먼저 다 가서 쳐져 시계요. 나가고 라메기 진압 라메기 내가 라메기 탑디 요르다 상마 요르제가 디 먼저 제가 지난 중에 시에서 가오공 그래서 메디디나는 딘데지가 개와 딘데지나 다 모던 소사이티나야 딘데지 저하고 상마로도 디가나 딩상다 뉴 에이지라 가오망고라 미몽고 다디 뉴 에이지 말다 디페 타고래 딩원에 수신원에 되겠어
So this original teaching came from the Buddha. This advice came from the Buddha, and it went down until it reached the great Indian master Shantideva, and he then is put in his text Bodhisattva Chara a very vast explanation of the 7-point mind training. So it's much. So it's a habit now. 7-point cause and effect.
말에다 책임 기능에 7번 말이 get lost. It's completely wrong. No 7-point. That's changing. 다시 냠지.
Alright, yeah, okay.
다시 냠지.
Alright, the 7-point exchange of self for others. Takshin namcha alright. Okay.
다들 제세 시월라나 다시 냠지 디 빈대명아 디처럼 딜 태고 그냥 요만 들려지로 갈래
We finished now? Okay. So, Shantideva did the 7-point cause and effect instruction in great detail, right? So here we just have a few pages in this text, right? But in the Bodhisattva Charivatara, it goes into it in much more detail. And I've received this explanation.
You completely wrong.
Shantideva did Tom Lin, exchange himself and others.
Maybe you.
Oh, yeah, right.
No, right.
I don't know.
You don't
Okay.
understand, ask her.
I understand. I'm just getting mixed up in my head now. I don't know. Anyway.
Beating, long beating. Long beating in, long beating out. 예, 미다다 제 데려와야 기생 먹는 살이. 어디를 다 양자질라가.
No, I know. I don't know why I'm getting it mixed up. But anyway, okay. So Shandy David did the exchange of self for others in great detail in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. And this, this here we have just a few pages on it. But so the gonda tanda di Length Lam Rim nang di lung ting kashi kimangpo. So di Lam Rim gilong di Lam Rim di okay, so yeah, and when it comes to this Lam Rim text, I've had the 5 times from the explanation, 5 times from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and then many other times I've received these teachings. So I can say that now we have this unbroken lineage, right? And we have the Lama's blessing. So it's very valuable to be able to receive this teaching, and we should really rejoice and feel that it's very positive to be able to achieve this, right? So in this modern era, we have many kind of new age kind of teachings that may not be that valid, but this we can genuinely say is unmistaken because it's an unbroken lineage and so forth, and so we can refer to this as genuine teaching, or you could say it's like the real sushi.
어디 다 들려야 기승왕도 삽제를 어디 조사 다디 디르바 이버서야지 제세 주고 10월에 흉을 때네 다 배절을 조사는 그런 내가 있어요. 이버서야지 이제 장주 쌤 좋아하게 탑남들라 니세 그러와 유대명아 든지고네로 장와당 다시 냠제고네로 장와 다 다시 냠제 유대명아 든지 조사 다 기승 다 이버 제세 주고 10월에 흉을 때네 아니 다시 냠제로 장와들라 숨스러와 다 다신 제와다 마지에 편연다 니믹삼바당 삼바디 코네 제뉴스 템바스 다신 제주 공동을 림바스 대전숨도 네 배정하라 마도션난데다.
Okay, so we're on 133, page 133 now. So when we're looking at this generation of bodhicitta, then this has 2 divisions. It has the method through developing it through this exchange of self for others, and the 7-point cause and effect. Now we've explained the 7-point cause and effect training, so now we're looking at the method of exchanging self for others.
안테네 상단데 게 빈자 게 톡고 게 기긴 게 톡고 게 기도 아니 디네 나서 처직바 너 나디네 롱버직바 나디네 상로마고다네 데디 상로디 슉첨부 가져요나 녀그라면 중요합니다. 그래서 강의 전쟁인거도 다 디마레서 다 베트코나 베트 상로 사워스 강으로 안데 디기 상로 갔다 저나 상단단 코나 베 유버신다스 당하는 메제 samlo drangja ta de na ne dungye ta kangye ta thado ta dizu da yoya ya mares ta digi ro yoya ya mares ro so ta samlo bet khona ba jewus kyabje ro jewus kyabje ta jigyu ma su du ta shim ti shem mi shin da su nang me da shi do ta de jewus kyabje ta mi shin ba de za shim bo mi shin da de zo le ti ani su su zo ma de shi mi shin da de zo de go ke sha de go 어디 디시고 다시 냠질라디 다 탄다 독트르 셰나네 지나마디 셰나나다 베지나나데 마 개보인 거레스로.
Okay, so what we're looking at here when we do this practice is that we currently think of our self-cherishing a lot. So you think about what you want, what's good, what you need, and you associate a lot with this thought of like my friends, my family, my country, my situation, right? And this causes us a lot of problems. This is the source of a lot of difficulties and problems for us. So we need to change this attitude. We need a new way of thinking, a new attitude. We need to change it because, of course, this type of thinking actually brings about a lot of suffering, right? And, because it's due to this that we experience, our minds are never happy, our minds are constantly disturbed. So we need to change this. So we need to change this attitude to start to see others as more important.
딜레야 대전 숨으로 딱신 제와당 마지에 평연다 니믹 삼바스 봐.
Okay.
아니 somebody 코네 제뉴스 템바스 다신 제주 공배 림바스 대전 숨시라.
Right. Yep. So when we look at this, then we have 3 divisions, 3 headings with this, and this is on page 133. So think about the advantages of exchanging and the disadvantage of not exchanging oneself for others, demonstrating that you can generate this mind if you familiarize yourself with it, and the stages of meditation on how to exchange oneself and others.
다 당보디 준준나 이제서도 다들 책 망고치 총송야 되나 단다도도 직된 대화 진여와 디근 다들 되려서 책도도 때 신샤나야고요 책대 저런도 신나야고요 직된 대화 진여와 디근 다들 되려서 직된 동해 진여와 디근 다나래 두도 직된 대화 진여와 디근 현대 되려서 직된 동해 진여 디근 다들 되려서
So Geshe-la got it mixed up now. That's my fault. Okay, blame me. Why not? Why not?
I know where is very powerful. I need some pushing. I did it. I take the house on that. 동해 대화 가래 여디 신뱅이 삼바당 총어레스 봐. 동해 가서 여디 아니 나나 삼다에 telling 총어레스 tikdi yagodo tikdi sindune hago yore.
Right. So then we move on to a few verses, and looking at this one here under the heading the advantages of exchanging, the disadvantage of not exchanging oneself for others, where it says all happiness that exists in the world arises from wanting happiness for others, and all suffering that exists in the world arises from wanting one's own happiness. So this is, very valuable. This is very profound and powerful meaning, and it basically goes on to say that exactly as it says, that any happiness that arises comes from this attitude of cherishing others, and all suffering comes from this attitude of self-cherishing. So if we can actually memorize this verse, it's very valuable.
셈기 강에다 삼범마기 버린데 다 메스 비중한도 르라 나자이나 메사와 제나시다 셈라 마기오이나 메인다 틱도 줘 아니 삼당이나 마 셈바데 시바 차는거라 다데 문에 메인원에 그래서 틱이 줘 삼당이나
So just as we have sometimes we have mental difficulties and suffering, and just as if we have a physical sickness or difficulty, then we'd take medicine to alleviate that, to deal with it, right? So these verses and this kind of training is like the kind of medicine you use for your mind, for your mental sicknesses and suffering.
다 가르쳐야 돼. 책배닝 줘요. 책보다 인지 책을 한대나 배배들 배닝 줘. 망대셔도 지금 지원한 게 된죠. 통화신이네. 비행기는 겨웠대 쓰는가? 계속 망고 쉐어 말해서 발라발라 망고 쉐어. 상로다스가 미술을 되게 망하다. 미술을 동에 망하다. 상다. 랑단다 랑진진짠자 상로다니 되라. 동에 레도 왔어. 동에 냐냐 레도 왔어. 아주이나 배가 상단이 동의 견년한 홍도도 다 산제도 신뱅 그 상견자 다제 컨트롤 다도그 디게 중도 왔어 니니를 때다 세우신 그래서 와들다
So then it goes on, there's this verse. These verses are very beautiful in Tibetan, they're very poetic. I don't know how they come across in English, but in Tibetan it's very very beautiful to hear. But now we move on to the next verse where it says, what need is there to say more? So here it's saying, well, there's not much need to go on about it, or not much need for blah, blah, right? It goes on to say that the childish work only for their own welfare, the Moonies work for the welfare of others. Look at the difference between the two. So those ordinary beings who experience kind of suffering and so forth, they do this due to their attitude of self-cherishing, right? Whereas those who work only for their own welfare, this attitude of working for others is what leads to the final liberation of enlightenment.
다 단다 다게 신지 동에 맞게 버시지와 다신님제단 신지디 로마제 가두이나 란지지 gen영 삼로단지 대비이나 이 저 맞게이나 신빙 상로도 마담이나 단다 뒤중하는 삼로단단디 저 맞게이나 아니 먼저 산제 고마토도 말했잖아. 산제 고마토도 맞에 아니 그런 콜 하그레스 코디나 니그레스 코디나라 아니 대화요 말에 동의전자 녀지 대야래서 다들 신지 동의다 양다 지어 맞으면 산제니는 코 나야 동의 대화 메시지다 대화 뭐 맞에 거에나 동의전자 녀지다 대야래서 어디시 하고 싶다.
So if we do, this illustrates the necessity to exchange ourself for others, or our self-cherishing for the attitude of cherishing others. If we do not exchange this, then we will never reach this state of enlightenment. If we do not exchange these two. And not only that, we'll continue to cycle in samsara and experience only suffering and the various sufferings of samsara. Whereas if we are able to exchange the self for others, not only will it lead us to the enlightenment, but it will also bring us a lot of happiness, peace and happiness in our minds.
어디 다시 냠지세야지 동고마이나 3회전에 냠는 쇼와 나 다시 냠지 지고 나 전죽선배 냠는 지고 밀래 쇼업 지고요 3회전에 냠는 쇼와 간식 다단 신은 뉴도 저와 다단 신지죠 3회전 뭐 제가 차송다 뉴도 티거들 아주 다단 신기 로디 냠는 제제 공부를 냠는 제고레스 아니 다신 제야디 신지버 딘드랑 이거 도와다라 디파 저어야지 3회 냠네 3화던就是냠네 제 가가 돼야 제 말해서 정말로 나 딘데 지고 제 말해서 쟤는 발제 연구요 어디
So this exchange of self and others is something that is always done in secret, right? It's a secret practice. So it goes on to say that in this first verse here, that's back on page 133, whoever wishes to protect himself and others rapidly should practice the secret instructions, which consist of exchanging oneself and others. So this secret instruction here means that it's something we don't talk about. It's not something to do to show off to others or, make a big noise about. In fact, you shouldn't say anything about it, because if you start to talk to others about doing this practice, it can actually create obstacles for yourself. So it's something that's done secretly.
아니 분좀 서버다 연된 중내당 이 디기용야 중다레샤 삼제다 디간 삼당 그래서
So what's the essence of this? We need to think about this. We need to understand that the faults that come from self-cherishing and the suffering and difficulties and problems that come along with that, and also the tremendous benefits that come with cherishing others, the happiness and the peace and happiness that comes along with cherishing others.
다 진대게 삼로단단 진대지유나 아니 삼로데 땅에 당도 만들줄라 삼로든지 끼그레베 저 TV나 다디 거네 칼레가고 레도 왔으나 아주 단다 가두이나 나나나 그냥 삼단데 요래다 디에탈레 신 삼단야게 당고유에는 진대 로지 끼그레베 만들줄라 삼로든지 끼그레베스라나 어디다 아니 끼그레스로데 겁나 제뉴스 된 바스다 끼그레스 그런 심대 제공 말에 배변체나 끼그레스
So then we go on to looking at demonstrating that you can possibly generate this mind if you familiarize yourself with it. So here is it possible to generate this attitude? And it's definitely possible, because at the moment we have this habituation of thinking I all of the time, right? But the more we can start to develop the habit of thinking about others and think about others more and more, then if we develop this in a habit, then it's definitely possible. We definitely can develop this pure attitude.
Right. Yep. And that is 수수 심나 마가와 차야
Right.
안 통화산지 통이 마도 차야 상무당데 다데당아 통이 주고는 것이야 근데 미든데 여버이나 아니 신제거든 별로도 컴컴컴나 치스 미디 민 상무커와다 민터와다 뭐스 통이 심나가 가와신 거지야 근데 이런 거래서 어디 다 같은 거로서는 그것도 줘요. 너만 스스 마가세 미질을 치즈 봐야 차야 돼. 그것도 다디 example 데려라다.
So, to give an example, you could say somebody that used to be what would be an enemy or somebody that you disliked to the point where you dislike even hearing their name, and certainly when you met them or had to encounter them, you really disliked that experience. So this was the state that you might have this attitude toward them previously, but through familiarization, through thinking about them in a positive way, through developing their this positive attitude towards them, to developing that habit, then you can actually come to really like that person and have a positive thinking towards them. So this is an example of how this changing your attitude towards others is actually possible.
대당하는도 매전나라 통야도 와라. 이까지 강보배 야외 잡된 요던데 치수 참부차 매전님도 해 근데 야 미가시 당보 참부차 야외 잡이랑 다나 시차래. 매지 찍나라. 당보 된데 도도도더라. 이제다 먼저 수수 상담단이 요도고가 다디 세월에도라.
So we can think about this in our daily lives. There's people that we dislike, that we don't get on with, that we might argue and fight with and so forth, and might be our enemy in a way, right? But then we can see that how this can change. The situation can change with these types of people. We can clearly, if we think about it, we can clearly see this.
다든데 네 셈디 컴다 찌는 거요나 다디 뭐네 공단데 가래스나 다신 지주 공부 림바스다 그것이다 이 마공단 림바드 시기요다 근데 로스케 두고 있나다 간데스 공부를 해야 되다 공단 림바드 시기요.
So then we actually talk about the way of meditating, the actual practice, the way to develop it, the actual way to meditate on this technique.
다 딜이야 객세와당 kum중어서 다 계약의 반제로죠라고 어디 파세야 당 한테네 다 원에 다시 님 무엇 공단을 벌스 되니시로.
Okay, so the heading for that is on the bottom of page 134, the stages of meditation on how to exchange oneself for others. And then this has divided into two, removing the obstacles and the actual way to meditate.
네. 다디 베나디 식망고시도데 다디 셰모 딜이야 도나스 제르무지 송다데 식디 포지션에 디르 도나 랑기 대월라 미다와 신지 중에 세와 텐디 주고 차워서다 미로와 수수 대월라 마데체 미신지 중에 상당지다 동에디 세와 아니 동에디 세와 지기 상당 도나 아니 수수로디다 신진진을 조용으로 레스다디 칭망불라모시 제르모시 칭용용진나라디 그저 진압 폴로 칭투도 진압이라고 마로기 상당히나 도나라도 랑기 대월라 미데와 수수 디둘라 마다와체 신지 동에라 동에세야게 텐데 상무당이 도나 아니 다 신주다 로디 신기 초래야 초용이요 레스 다 디직 되는가지요. 이 subject umada dona so
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it in brief.
dona so
Di tamaru di
야 예 숨발라 니체 객세와다 kum중어
lasso.
당번에 다신제와다 신이다 시성시 신라 나와냐는 전 단진디는 신여와다 로는 마치 대체 다기 대와다 신이 등에 저 신문다 단진디는 때문에 다기 대와 저도 이제 등에 들어가 되면서 저 치대스가 도나 살 때다 랑기 대와라 미더버스가 So now,
Oh, okay, lasso.
what the
Yeah, gone. Okay, so there's no need to go over all of this in detail, right? This first point, identifying the mind of exchange for self. At the end of this, where it says, in short, we will act for the sake of eliminating the suffering of others without concern for our own happiness. So this is Lama Tsongkhapa's like, in short, advice or summary of the whole thing. Basically, we shouldn't be focused on developing our own happiness, focused on our own happiness, but rather removing or alleviating the suffering of others. So this is what's meant by the essence of that paragraph. But unfortunately for us, we can't actually generate this mind, right? We can't. We can't actually generate this genuine mind of cherishing others, right? In fact, when we think about the suffering of others, it also makes our suffering increase, right? So I mean, it says in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara that although we wish for happiness, we treat the cause of happiness like an enemy. Right. Out of ignorance, although we wish for happiness, we treat the cause of happiness like an enemy. So basically, although we wish for this happiness and we don't want suffering, we're constantly creating the cause of suffering, right? We're constantly increasing our own suffering. So how is it that we can even ever hope to clear away the suffering of others if we're just constantly increasing our own suffering? So we think in the morning, right? We should set up, this motivation that we do positive things and we do, where we work to clear away suffering and help others. But we need to actually put this into practice, because what people tend to do is actually just do things that increase their suffering. So constantly create actions or create negative actions that just increase and develop more and more their suffering. So in this way, we need to actually work through it. So if somebody's actually like a practitioner, then for them to make suffering is not actually a problem, right? This is not a problem for them if they're a genuine practitioner. But if somebody's not like a genuine practitioner, then if they're just creating suffering, then it becomes a big problem for them. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay, so then when training the mind, there are two obstacles. So, and this goes into two parts. Removing the obstacles of considering oneself and others, distinct individuals, and removing the obstacles of thinking, since the suffering of others does not harm me, I need not make an effort to remove it. So the first one, removing the obstacles of considering ourselves and others as distinct individuals. So first of all, the problem is that we see ourselves and others as completely distinct. Like white, the color white and red are completely distinct. That's how we see ourselves and others.
균진이버드 가르스나 랑게 랑스도 시우직제거든 신스도 예와타야 신스도 안다 예 말했으나
Okay.
남의 다니스도
So the second reason is since, like we don't really care about us. We think, oh, what happens to them doesn't matter. Like it's like just like something like that.
난도문에라 나란도 디문에 단다 나도이나 저랑도 하모거라 나라이나 수수 대화이나 디세 대화도야다 동의세를 빼준 쉬우체로 신달라디 한남에도 쇼도다
Right.
디 왕기 먼저 싱디두라 sometimes 투고마 다데
So I can't speak for anyone else, but I think I think that I will think all about our own suffering, right? Like how can I make myself happy? How can I make develop myself, and not really thinking about others. So this attitude is very detrimental or problematic. It can't actually work. Right. So when you actually think about it and see in your own situation, like when you actually meditate and recognize this in your own situation, like this grasp, this self-cherishing attitude, then we can see that what Lama Tsongkhapa has said here, this teaching is actually direct advice for us.
chewa shivuji yodo samdango yora madam midan chirandu sudisam yawaro shivu cheje samdango that is some madam she nganzo jigbare so nganzo mi ba jigbare samde khejumo shore dara samu nganzo mi ba jigbare so 아니 이제 강발라 가지고 건조도 되자 내기 되자 건조지 콘도 내기 콘도 아니 아주 파말레 끼와 찍과 와 샤다 캄 풍부 그래서 찍과 아니 균쟁이 찬 찍과 대화되던 그래서 균쟁도 딱 누가 첨벌에 상무 양스 땅고 그래서 그래서 딱 기도 님바도 계제도 망보 거차 이나 계제도 거네 수수 삼년나 걸어서는 미지 통원데는 아직 만두 찍거래 상무시다는 아니 균쟁데 딱다 도래 균쟁데 망보 거이네 수수심나네 이야와 세우 찍도나 그 딱다데 균쟁데 로토비야 말 셈나는 로토야 말 암저나는 거래 셈나는 로토야 말 전들 상무단지 아직 만두 찍거래 세야게 균쟁 당고 체조 당고데 찍바인 바데 상무직 단tum나 배편도 좀 버레스들어
So then what is the antidote to this? Right? Like how do we develop this antidote to this attitude? So the first one, looking at the first one of this idea that we and others have no real connection, like we're completely separate. We have this distinctly in our mind that ourselves and others are very separate, but in reality we're actually the same as all being human beings, right? And our mental thinking, like our attachments the same, our aversions the same. And if you really reflect, there's many reasonings, and if you reflect on these again and again, then hopefully it has some effect on your mind. And then when you see others and meet other people, that you actually start to see them as we're all the same, right? However, if you hear this kind of teaching time and time again, however, there's no change in your mind, then there's not much point in this, right? Then there's no point in that. So we need to, or it's not hitting the mark, so to speak. So we need to reflect on this again and again to actually get it to have an effect on our mind.
내가 이제 가고요. 일rel하고요 말. 쌤 교단에서 이제 일rel하고요 말. 그 당부도 배전 당부 다들 내圈에 용사 말에 상대에 레이나 발레 배전셔나 용그레스 배나 란진지디 겨만고네 콤데스로 란지고 되면다 나세디 춘주네 콤 겨만고네 콤제 아니 란진지디 레이스 데디나시 현재와 된벌레 콤 배전 지기이나 아니 현지디 레이그레스 배전 셔이나
So, this is something that's not easy. It's difficult to do this. It's really not easy to do it. However, we can bring about this change, right? Over time. We shouldn't think that, we've been doing it for a little while and we haven't seen a major change. It doesn't work like that. If we continuously apply effort, then slowly we'll see the change in our mind. And the reason for this is because this attitude of self-cherishing, the habit with this self-cherishing is extremely strong. Through countless lives, we've been developing this attitude towards self-cherishing. And so therefore, it takes a long time and a lot of effort. And thinking about cherishing others, only through that does it come.
안다 디네마 제다 지난 디네마 도샤 디네마 도미가 세마 도 디네마 제 데라 기시 컴롱베시네 에세서
기시 칼롱바 칼롱바 데르 타마데 오케이
컴롱베도 데라 가서나 강아도 심디 기그 강아도 줄에 깨요 말이야 현지와 좀 별로 강아도 요 말한다 내가 다 다가서 데다 깨토 말해서 육샤나 리가 말해서
right
깨알 배전체고레스 배전체고 가르쳐버서는 당부 쓰는 마제는 대담이 되어봐 때문에 아니 쌤디 깨가 탐랑되니 수수 개개하고 싶댄스 당부대 그게 당부 때문에 기시 댄스와 걔네 아니 대달로전 되고 초보야보다 알아 신변체고래 밀레편도 체고래 랑진지 뉴 땅고래 신이게 초보인데 제주니버디 초보 봐 초보 망고 초보인데 딱도 댄스 초보도 님도를 망고 됐어.
right
대답에 대해 숨으로었다. 다 된데 된 얘기다. 배나 등산이나 이 로종 고기 캡틴을 망고요.
okay
그 대링도도 단다 두조야고 요다. 인지민지 낭배게 흉지고로 말했다. 마다 둘이세 컨저 밀레 편도 제 근데 또 근데 로는 되게요. 밀레야 편도 제 시행지버디 지도라야 현지체 캡틴데도 근데 낭배 흉라다 쉬워요. 하고도 저런 단데 로충어 먹고도 믹스에 이 겨울음을 시는 게 캡지 요래 캡지 민라 인지티가 갈라고 있나 동로사회 뒤집세로 아자 뉴 밀레니엄 가자 신기해 좀
don't know, there's a book by the Dalai Lama, The New Millennium, to compare. Did you?
동로사회 뒤집 데레 어디
Ethics from New Millennium, okay.
어디야고요 방금 단다 사바도 딜로기나 캡디 따지나 겨울음지 테망고 요래 얘나네 단다 딥페미시야고
Ethics, New Millennium.
어디지 교르다나 망부차다
So, this, so then it goes on to explain a bit more about this in detail. So you can read over this yourself. So up to the bit, which is on page 137, this quote by it says here, Kalungba, since we act deviously towards noble sentient beings, they will also do the same to us. So up to there, you can read down and develop that explanation. Then it goes on to explain that, if you want to generate this attitude, it takes time and effort. You can't just give up on it because it's not easy. So you have to strive for it. And also you have to rely on certain things, right? So you have to rely on a spiritual teacher to work with and also to surround yourself to rely on positive friends that are trying to develop the similar sort of attitude. And then the third thing you need to do is actually read scriptures, read texts, books about it. So there's many different books on how to generate this kind of attitude or to help with this development. And within Buddhism, there's a lot around. But for those of you who are new, it's very good if you can read this book by the Dalai Lama called Ethics for a New Millennium. And there's a translation in English. So if you want something to read, then that's a very good one.
Yeah, well, 내가서는 지난 여름에 탭딜러 여름에 랑게 주주 먹고 싶지 않아. 뒤에는 미세 주주 먹고 단 군두랑 주주 먹고 단 별로 유효해서.
So kind of government should do to.
여름에 탭딜러 주주 먹고 단 팁 신다도 public 체.
라서.
여름이랑 게 베데.
Okay. Right. Okay. So this one is exceptional because this one, like the Dalai Lama, put a lot of effort into, a lot of time and energy into writing this book, right? It took 6 years and talking to many people and so forth. So other books is just like a public talk that he's given that's been transcribed down. But this one actually took a lot of development and spent much time and effort into writing this book.
다디 숨바디체 나 시와디 가르스나 디 주를 소소 디버정 따라와 요가 장원들 소소 밀레 팬도치야 추버피야 여체야 디버장야 차체 디버마 정야 디버 소소 디저치야 창마 아니 지 신배 천죽 심게라 다신념적이다 신기 수수 심게 신변 로게 두야 체데 소소 디저치야 아니 라야 제대로 로장네 아니 사면상을 되버데 다디 어딘데 다디 유딜라디도 개개된 거와 담보데 개개 구요였다 개개 여와도 구요 아니 초보야고 구요 제준이와데 다디 내가로 초보디 뭐네 지 펴버지 메추기 계제시니 안데 로도 첨부 계제시니 아니 숨으로도 따고 숨바디 시바디 아니 디 줄이야 배전신 소사 디버장 소남사
December.
Sonamsa.
December, mano.
Shivaredo.
December di Pechalogro.
Pechalogro.
Okay. Read.
Teju Shidoa. This Samudan to Yagoda.
And December di So then the fourth one you need to do, so this is all in this paragraph on page 137 under E, the appropriateness of putting effort into many approaches into the methods of mind generation. So breaking it down, the fourth point comes to this accumulation of merit and the purifying of obstacles. So it says here, accumulate the collections and purify the obscurations. So this becomes the fourth point. This is like doing things like prostrations and various practices that will purify negativities and accumulate virtues. So just to go over it again, this when you break down this paragraph, it says you need to rely on 4 points. So the first, relying on a teacher. So you need a qualified teacher in order to help you to develop this attitude. The second thing you need is positive friends, positive helpers and supporters that can actually help you to develop this attitude. The third thing you need to do is read the scriptures or the texts. And then the fourth one is that you need to accumulate merit and purify negative karma.
마토바 토와치바 다 다신념적이 로디 라다 마토바 토 전주 셈서라 마토바 토 민양수 냥나 치주가 들어와 다딜라 셈게서 당보 가서 신변 신기 전다 지기에서 당보 캘렌체 셈게 다도 마도다 야고 쇼여다 셈게 강라베 땡 지단라베 초바스와 랑베 유디 가르고 거래서는 아니 마르 코로나 domba denden joje ko yo right domba jugdum ke domba den ye ko lambe dende tang na so mi dan tundo da sui le nai do so le nai den dig yo re wa lambe dende ande choga de la jowa de mu ji do sin de wa.
Okay, so now we move on to the explanation of how to assume the mind generation by means of a ritual. The pekenang la kandula the Gyode dis Kinsabudi.
마토가 토시오.
No, di mare di nyonla di. The way of assuming, but okay, by means of a ritual, right? So then this can be divided into three: receiving that which has not been received, guarding that which has been received without it generating, and then the method for restoring it is if it has been generated. So then for the first one, receiving that which has not been received, there's three to that: from whom the object from whom is taken, by whom the basis which is taken, and then how the ritual by which is taken. So from whom it is taken, it says here so prior to this, one has to generate this wish to be of benefit to others. So having generated that, then the somebody
저거
choga tandi ten tandi
저거 말해. 딜라 댄서도.
di didna di nyonla di
마토가 토가
di
저거 딜라 강남의 유지.
강남의 유지 칸데.
지단의 저거 강남의 유지야 돼. 라마래 라마.
Okay.
라메든 라마딜라. 네 제가 딜라 죽돈 토바지 거래서. 수수 죽돈 돈발렘 발라. 제저 렌세게. 라마딜라 죽돈 돈바기 된바지 거래서 어디시.
Right. So from the person from whom it's suitable to take these vows has to be a lama, a teacher, but it has to be somebody who's actually received the vows for themselves, who has these vows. And then by who can take it, the basis is, as it says here, the gods, nagas, and so forth are physical. Goruku Sama. So okay, any of the sentient beings of the six realms are suitable basis for taking it.
다 저거들라 다 저거무시 죽숨제와 다 저거들라 아니 jam도 저거 써야 되다 다득치야 돼요 아니 무시 저걸래 아니 신바 죽 잡았어디 지금은 그 뒤지고라 뭐마이나 이래 가서 그래 오늘 그다 저 남림 그 성주 제대로 인디샤 그래 인디샤 남림 성주 정말 타라 정말 타외니가 될 이제 아니 셈게 네 지금
Okay, so disha tanda disha. Okay.
말에 단단마샤 지단 단단단한도 다 베직을 방도 베직 스타를 방. 시다게 베직 스타를 방도 나도 파지 셰르체네 라브레티가 오르메.
네.
라마다 로메 디시스케요 말도.
네.
라마다 로메 디시요나 안 제라 네 셈게 초겔렌 방도 데 베직 민고란 베직 보고는 베도.
네. Okay.
파지 라브레티가 오르메 시게 라마다 로메 디시스케요 말.
Right, so in this situation, normally you'd go through the whole Lam Rim first and then come back and actually explain this part of well, you'd actually take the vows. Sorry, you'd go through the Lam Rim first and then you'd actually take the vows. But we're not doing that because we're doing it as a basic program, so we're not actually having this connection between, like, we're not worried about the connection between the student and the teacher and all these things. We're learning it as part of this basic program, so that's the name of it. So that's why we're going through it in this order. Yeah, so now we're doing basic program style, right? So then looking at this, we can say that the third one, how the ritual is taken, then this actually has three. It has the preparatory ritual, the actual ritual, and the concluding ritual. So we'll go through these now. Okay, okay. So then the preparatory ritual goes through three: special generation of refuge, the accumulating the accumulations, and training in the attitude. So the first one of these is the going for refuge, right? So because this is part of Mahayana Buddhism, therefore it's part of Buddhism, and in order to be Buddhist, you have to have taken refuge. So therefore refuge becomes the first component.
아니 잠도 많이 공부 아니 네네 잠진 최대상 봐 네네네 상 최바상 메도드 그 최바
오케이
최바 최대상 근데 소와다 좀 겹스에 랍자스 이제 대전 숨제가 당보들은
quest
예
there's a request going for refuge and stating the trainings that have gone for refuge. So then, the first of these, as it says, it's again the first one has 3 points. Decorating the place and displaying the representations of So this is as part of the special going for refuge. So decorating the place, displaying representation, and setting up the offering substances, making a request and going for refuge, and stating the trainings of having gone for refuge.
다 당보되네. 원배 사죠. 나 Length Lam Rim 기 냠내 신이 좀 쉐요라. 다 수주 참대다. 그래서 신나야 고요. 원배 사죠 지도를 쉐요라. 다 Length 그 티징도서 람린다 근데 마셔고나 사죠 공부 땅마서 근데 지고요. Length 그 지gel라도 배땅마도 와. 그거는 야고도 와. 그래서 배야고도 와. 지도를 쉐. 파종게 지고다. 땡대기 til라서 거도 그지 땅마서.
Okay,
그래서
clean.
지난주 디세스 겸나야 고요. 지난주 단다데 나라 뼈로 키우다. 뼈로 키지 남한테 주고다. 유즈다 베네 수수 최최 다시 무슨 아니 최 마워볼라 구십지야 당 아니 사조 당마세 와 뼈도네 사조 당마세
So the birdie such a song was so good. Okay.
유지세는 당마세 다데 되게 천대이 메게가 봐 최단 최마워라 그거게 왔습니다. 네 내가 좀 물어봤고 그거 최단 최마워라 구십지야 제도
Okay.
어디 시기요 예 땡땡 tilashwe chune chaji tiji medo dang so tormaku sheze kunjo sumji sungyen sada da tende kudang chobudi la sobo tende yena ane gosu dang se tiam chule so sangbo shudan si yeza yeza da chö la kushep je che tu ane je chö tija tigan la medo je da chanjuk semlen du derwa ko semje choga si de me shugri de zole medo tende dwaya de da de shungje da tumba de 구속제 투연투나 상보라 쇼스죠 사람 라레다 돌아서게 최외 유제죠 로모 시세로가 다곤차 개베신이 슈게 슈딘딜라 메도기 겜바
So the look. Okay, so I'm just gonna. So then, when it comes to the preparation, so first I'm just gonna read out the paragraph, which Gus has just explained. So cleaning an isolated place, smear it with the 5 cow substances, anoint it with exquisite perfumed water, such as sandalwood water, to scatter fragrant flowers, set out the representations of the 3 jewels, middle statues, and so forth, texts and so forth, the images of bodhisattvas, a throne, a table, or a raised platform. Do the preparatory ritual as valuable offering items such as canopies of flowers as possible, as well as music, food, and so forth. Arrange a throne for the virtuous friend and adorn it with flowers. You accumulate your accumulation of merit by paying respect to former masters, the Sangha, and giving an offering cake to the elemental spirits. So, before you do this ritual or receive teachings and so forth, you should really clean the place, right? And then it's good to adorn it with the scent of sandalwood, and you can also use incense. So it's very good that Geshe says you lead him in every day with incense. This is very good because this incense can deputi sangmaso, such a sangmaso, right? This incense is seen as cleansing the place, like making the place clean. So, keeping the place clean and doing these things is a sign of respect, right? It's a sign of respect for the Dharma and for the teachings and so forth. So we also then arrange the statues and so forth, the representations of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. Again, all of this is to show respect to the teachings, and the throne and so forth is all to show respect of the teachings. And so you can adorn it with flowers and so forth. And the Jangjo Sempa, the metal kanduji? Okay, so when they were doing this ritual, this bodhicitta ritual, they made this special flower offerings. So I think it's a flower parasol here or something. Such as canopies and flowers as possible. So the Bodhisattvas made a special flower offering during this time of receiving this Bodhisattva vows. So Shirab Ningbo.
다디 중나 유의 상원들이 자주 소리네 내가 네 남림다
Oh, okay.
단다 예동보다 이제 유나 야고요.
So if you have like root and lineage texts around, this is very good. Things like the Heart Sutra and the Lam Rim text. If you have these and the Gur Samaja root text, then these are very good to have. In the good book. Oh, so yeah. Okay. So this is to represent the speech of the Buddha. So you represent the form of the body, form of the Buddha with the statues and so forth, the images, and then the texts represent the Buddha's speech, and then the stupas represent the Buddha's mind.
That is the consumed damage. The neta, that's Loma says a true chair. So the Dindayan did true job. Tulo Tangmat in
So we want you to scrub up nicely if you're coming to these bars, right? You should be clean, you should be dressed well, you shouldn't just come in wearing any old thing like that, right? So in general this is the case, but in particular for the taking of the Bodhisattva vows, there's a strong tradition of, like in Tibet, of like really cleaning and wearing the best clothes and so forth. Okay. So then there's the actual making the request, doing the prostrations and making the request, right? So here it's the steps performed by the guru and the student, right? So and then it goes, making requests and going for refuge. So first you make the request and then going for refuge. So I'll just read this because she's asked me to read this. So second, the student, having generated the perception of his guru as the teacher, prostrates to him and makes offerings, including a mandala, to him. With his right knee on the floor, palms joined, he makes the request for the purpose of bodhicitta. And the request is, just as the Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, as well as the great bodhisattvas abiding on the great grounds, first generate the mind of unsurpassed perfect complete enlightenment. Likewise I, whose name is, request the master to generate the mind of unsurpassed perfect complete enlightenment. So this is the motivation that you need. Right. So then it comes to the attitude together with the objects. When we look at this, we have the three. We have the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So the Buddha is seen as the teacher, the Dharma is seen as the actual refuge, and the Sangha is seen as the support or the helpers, right? It says here, to be my companions in the practice of refuge. So I'll read out the actual thing here. So it says, from now on until I achieve enlightenment, in order to protect all sentient beings, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the teacher of refuge. I go for refuge to the Dharma, the actual refuge. I go for refuge to the Sangha, who I ask to be my companions in practicing refuge. With the special attitude of making a strong aspiration, I will never turn away from this attitude at any time. So again, it's representing to see the way that we take the refuge as seeing the Buddha as the teacher. The Dharma is the actual refuge, and the Sangha is the helpers or supporters within this. And then this last bit, I will never turn away from this attitude at any time, is that I will always maintain this refuge, this attitude of refuge. And I won't turn away from it at any time. Yep. So then when we actually have the actual words of the ritual, what's actually recited, I'll just read it out here. So, Master, please grant me your attention. I, whose name is, from now until I reach the essence of enlightenment, go for refuge to the best of the humans, the blessed Buddha. Master, please grant me your attention. I, whose name is, from now until I reach the essence of enlightenment, go for refuge to the best of the Dharmas, the Dharma that is peace, free from attachment. And Master, please grant me your attention. I, whose name is, from now until I reach the essence of enlightenment, go for refuge to the best of the assemblies, the Sangha of irreversible Arya Bodhisattvas. So, if you so di matana dini. Okay. Right. So yeah. So you can recite this one, or you can also recite the I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the practice of the six, by generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So this is also fine, perfectly valid verse for taking refuge. And if you can actually contemplate the meaning and understand it, then it's incredibly beneficial. So this, okay. So when we talk about then the advice of going for refuge, we've actually explained this in the small and the medium scope. So we've already covered the advice of going for refuge. Seven. So also, developing the this attitude of bodhicitta is not easy. So you need to accumulate merit and purify karma to be able to do that. So this is why you also add in this practice of the 7 limb prayers. So this can be done. Right. So then it goes training in the attitude. Third is explained for you, the observed objects of the attitude of love and compassion should be visualized. So this generation of this attitude of love, or sometimes said to be loving kindness, and this attitude of compassion is very important. So this loving kindness is said to be the wish for all sentient tamchi dewa gyula. Okay, so this attitude of loving kindness is this wish for all beings to experience happiness, and this attitude of compassion is that this wish for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. Right.
손안 그 잡힌 주고 뭐.
So it's very important to do this because this accumulates a lot of merit, and the more merit you have, then the less obstacles you'll have in practicing the Dharma. So whenever we try and practice Dharma, we encounter a lot of obstacles. So that's why it's very important for us to accumulate the merit to remove these obstacles.
좋아 다 좋아. 나는 무엇이 다 저가 돼. 단다 마다 무엇이 저가 되죠.
So then it comes to the actual ritual.
데데다 무슨 뭐라 무슨 저게는 봐서 저가 되고.
Right.
사배진데 주주입니다.
So we may not have, so it goes on here, but we may not have time to go through this whole ritual now.
다 근데 제마 먼저 딜리그를 가서 저 메시지장인데 먼저 저 다음 거로 저는 저도 장데 저
Okay.
근데 저 소도만 사실 기능 건다 때 때는 안동 기능 강반나 안동 강반나 저 소도요 말이야 그래서 다 아니 강교교서 저는 이메 다는 거로
Yeah.
Okay.
So for next week, what we're going to study is we're going to have the questions that, like a list of questions that some of them will be in the exam. We hope to have it prepared for tonight, but unfortunately Anton went and injured himself in some crazy weird accident that he did. So hopefully we'll get those out to you soon. We're nearly finished preparing them. I should be able to get them out soon. Yeah, we'll email them out. But did some so? Yeah, we'll try and have it out in the next couple of days.
And then the giant DJ. That's all. Gom jaya de yawo da da xian bian ge pangbo ni mi zu sam da de dang de mune re dang de dewa da su su sam da ro su ma su ka le ge gu yo re da su su chue chi ge yo re nyam nen chi ge yo re de zhong chi ge yo re mi ji gen zhen ne an zhen ning ge yo re te lo ge yo re yi ne dang do sam ne na la ma ji wo do dang 지금 톡바서로 근데 스페이스로 안가래로 근데 콘도사로 근데 용대도 그래서 상마 상마 간에 중도 그래서 간에 중도 상담 그래서 연이 여러 그러다가 샤로 그거 이 말을 스페이스도 같이 오래 말 인가도 나 같이 올 상마다 메시 호란 다이샤 그거 간에 중도로 와
Right.
간에 중도 상담이나 란진디라 란진디 란진디란 또 다들 란진디란 레샤 나 오늘 신변가 삼스탄도 레유고 나는 미치게 나 미신게 삼도 미신게 둘라 삼스탄도 나 수수 치레에 아마 빈자 아주 최저게 기도 봐 저 디즈니 파삼당으로 아주 최저 기도 찍거든요 봐봐 삼문남 안제 일랑아 틀놈 야고 간데 치고
나 건데 디 기츠다 건데 디 타면데 하고 그러면
아주 이 삼문당사데 심지 탐제에서도 다른 거로 치레니 최저는 나다는 산다는 용이 봐봐 두 삼단으로 메시지게 심지 탐제에서 대샤 치레 요들이야 삼로 다른 거는 되네 요아요 말 제가 수수 삼단다 하고 그러 당할 스트레스도 간에 중도 스트레스도 당한 마지고 두 삼마담시로 거러 대샤고 간에 중도 유 간에 중도 삼단 아니 스트레스 도도 말이고 상당히 예로 그러 그다 곰자 나오던 데가 삼단도 야고요 그래서
So as far as the meditation goes, then what you want to be focusing on is the faults of this self-cherishing attitude, right? So, well, if we think about it, we hear a lot of teachings and we try and practice and so forth, but still we have things like stress and obstacles and like things like anger come up. So, we have all these, but where do these all come from, right? How do these come about? We can't sort of just pretend that they're not there and ignore them, but rather we need to recognize where do they all come from. If we actually analyze, we'll see that they all come down to the self-cherishing attitude. All of these problems come from the self-cherishing attitude, and so we need to switch this and start to think about this attitude. We don't have this attitude of benefiting others, and we need to generate that. So, at best if you can think about all sentient beings, but this might be quite challenging, right? To just start by thinking all sentient beings. It might be a bit much. So you can think about the people that are close to you, right? Those people that are close to you, and for example, the people at the center, and then these people that are around you, and try and generate more kind of attitude of cherishing them. But even if that's more difficult, then you can also even look at your own situation as well, right? So if you see yourself like, where does all this stress and difficulties and things come from, right? Really check, analyze where does it come from. It's like often in general, it's not good to just get caught up in the stress because that can just increase it. But if you actually analyze it and look at it in this way, it can be quite beneficial.
이 착쟁 나는데 나대게 재미지 치매 뒤만 썼어. 아니 로드 다다 뭐 하나 샤송도 돼 랍제 정보를. 나대제 뭐메 이런 거 스트레스 anxiety 요야 정말 대베 내주 주주 수수수 내용제 대베 내주 내려고 수수 하면은 그 커용제 아니 되게 셈네 동행 거로 다 남자이네 다 워리요네 마음바라 안돼 용거래 마음바 근데 저거래 네 생각나냐 남자이 요러와 딘데비야 마음바 주말에 대와 마음만에 뭐지 수수 셈데 다다와가나 샤워래서 어디 랍제 전부래가
So the advice and the teachings of Mahamudra, states that all this stress and anxiety and these kinds of thinking come from thoughts of thinking about the past. All the stress, anxiety, and these things come from thinking about the past. And all worry comes from thinking about the future, right? And all our worries and concerns are thinking about what may happen in the future. So if you can actually bring this down, this thoughts of past, and bring in this thoughts of future, and bring the mind into the present moment, then it's more, then it'll be peaceful. And right. Oh, okay. All right. So I think I used the word bring down. That's not correct. It's simply not going there, not going to the thoughts of past, and not going to the thoughts of future. So really make this commitment not to go there, and keep the mind in the present. Right, so if we can bring the mind in the present, then we actually wouldn't have any difficulties, right? If we could keep our mind in the present moment, all our difficulties come from thinking about the past, like what happened yesterday or last week or last year and so forth, and also from thinking about what could happen or maybe happen in the future. So remembering the past and thinking about the future, this is where all our mental difficulties come from. Okay, shall we stop here?
Yep.
In the foundation of all good qualities, refers to the bodhisattva vows.
Right.
I just wonder if that's the vows and rituals that we're learning about here, this section, or if this is just part.
Oh, okay. So the Jetson covered the Yonten. Yeah, the Junction Assembly Tomba, the Nangla, you're so the Lam Rim Tremba Nanza di Kachishe the Junction Assembly Tomba Repe or the Shembare? The Junction Assembly Tomba, Bodhisattva vows. The Nangla di Kachishe the Junction Assembly Tomba Kachishe or the Shembare?
The Danda Junction Tomba, the Danda Deva, Danda the foundation could go. Rani season was the manu dog when you tell Tona door, Chanju Sinjo, you change your says to that day, Domba soon, and it's in Getan Shigata. Domba lands have a jailer, and it's now the Samba Joe.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Okay. So the question is, in the foundation of all good qualities, it talks about the Bodhisattva vows, and is it talking about that in this text as well? And he says, in this text, it's talking about what we talked about tonight, is talking about the Bodhisattva vows. But in the foundation of all good qualities, it states the. Right. So, yeah, so it's after having received the vows, then committing to continuously reflect on and develop the bodhicitta attitude, right? Again and again. So in the text, it's in the foundation of all good qualities, it says after having received the vows, then you have to constantly keep regenerating and developing. Right, so it's advisable to do 3 times in the morning and 3 times at night. So then 6 times in the day you think about this. Look on the Oh, okay. So these days we tend to just get all 6 in one go, right? To do it 6 times a day at once. Oh, okay. So ideally you'd be doing 6 meditation sessions a day, and in each of those you'd generate bodhicitta. Yeah, these days you just get it all out there real quick. Yeah. Right. However, that's good, because when you're not in retreat, if you develop this habit of doing it, and then when you're actually in retreat, you can do it at each of the 6 sessions, so 6 times a day like that. Discussion, you can do this question, I think question. How many weeks? 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and then maybe half question to discussion. Okay. Discussion. And then and it's Sarah leaving tomorrow. We're missing those big things. Sarah did lots of good jobs. I really appreciate, and the sound system and the lot of Ludo and the helps lots of this basic program like stronger, with Jen helping basic program. And the brother also 저는 로스틱 마진들로 내가 빼야고 채소서 그래 그것도 추억이 차오래 군호야보다는 수술로 버자야고 샤레스 와지나 지메 파 필러도야 저 누나의 리그레스 나도 될라잖아. Welcome, Yoris. So you've been here about a year now, and you've done really good work in this time, right? And if you've done this is Dharma work. So if you've done it with a good motivation, then you've created really strong imprints in your mind. And, if you go to Nepal and then you want to come back, then good, you're always welcome. And you already have some new job little bit here, radio, radio 기지시에 된다 내가 다다 그것도 투요. 달라고 때 차라. So yeah, you have to come back because you started doing this radio thing, and you didn't finish the job, so we need you back here to sort it out. Usually we go to pilgrimage, yeah. And not necessarily one object we leave, because future is one special monastery or some we live there, because future want to continue. This reason you leave this job.